Hey, it's Aaron, and I'm back on my grandmother's couch. I know a lot of people commented on this couch the other day, and yes, it is a beautiful floral pattern. So today I want to talk a little bit about kitchen nightmares and Gordon Ramsay. I know, so weird, so random it would seem that I would talk about Gordon Ramsay and kitchen nightmares, considering I think that show's been off the air for like a decade. But I've been watching a lot of it recently, reruns of it on YouTube, because I've needed to just relax and chill out and get a grip and just watch something that's completely mindless, has nothing to do with politics, and just get my mind out of this whole fire hose of media that's constantly being sprayed at full blast in my fucking mouth. So I've been watching a lot of this Gordon Ramsay show, and a recurring theme that I kept seeing was the fact that there is this one thing that always seems to fail whenever it comes to a business. And it's unfortunate that I would notice this when I'm just trying to relax and not think politically or analytically or within a Marxist framework. But that one thing happens to always be the owner or the management. Now, for a little bit of a recap, if you've never seen the show, Kitchen Nightmares and a bunch of subsequent shows like Hotel Hell and so forth are all basically about how a chef, a world-renowned chef named Gordon Ramsay, goes to different places and finds out what all of the problems are within that business and then works throughout the week to try to solve those problems and relaunch the entire restaurant. It's a really interesting show. I like watching it a lot. It's a lot of fun. But in almost every single episode, it seems as though the employees, for the most part, so long as they've been trained, or at least they have a certain amount of experience, aren't the problem with these businesses. Most of the time, the problem lies within management, or within the ownership, or within some sort of hierarchical strata within that industry. And it made me really start to think more about how just unbelievably pointless it is to have somebody that is an owner of a building or of an industry or of a restaurant, for this example, when most of the time the people that can afford to buy those things don't really have any experience within the industry. They just sort of bought the building because they thought it would be a good business venture, and they set out to try to run a restaurant, even though they have no practical experience on how to do those things. So of course they have to hire a lot of people that know what they're doing. A lot of these people aren't going to pay very well. They're going to try to pay as minimum as they possibly can, so the work that they get out of their employees is always going to be a little bit worse. It's never going to be up to par to where somebody would be if they were getting paid a reasonable living wage, or, God forbid, actually were part owners in that business. And it just shows that more often than not, the reason why businesses fail is simply because of this lack of understanding, lack of business savvy when it comes to that specific industry within the ownership class, within the people that actually own these businesses. One of the recurring themes that always happens is Gordon will gather all of the people, all of the employees inside of one room, and they'll sit the owner down in front of a camera or behind the scenes or whatever it is, and they'll just have all of the employees vent about what's wrong with the restaurant. And 90% of the time, they all know what the real problems are, because that's the thing. When you work in that industry, when it is your job every single day to do this certain task, you know what's wrong with that task. You've had enough time to internalize it and make sense of it and understand it so you can actually work to fix it, because you've already come up with ways to solve those problems. The real barrier in that is that the people that know the solutions, that have all of the plans to fix all of these problems, are not in positions of power to actually fix things. So instead of doing the proper thing, like going in and fixing whatever it is, the ticket system or the POS system, or making sure that there's enough communication between the chef and the expediter and that sort of thing, instead of doing those things, an owner will get upset and they'll cut costs, cut labor, cut their resources, cut things that they need to actually boost the business. So instead of fixing their problem, they end up digging themselves into a deeper hole and making things far worse. And that's the problem with having one certain person or even a board of directors owning a business that they have absolutely no reason to be owning in the first place. They should, all businesses, as far as I'm concerned, should be worker cooperatives. They should be a cooperative effort between people who understand the business to work together and put out the best possible product. That's the major problem with all of this, is that when something is owned by somebody that really has no fucking business owning that thing, just because they happen to have enough money to buy it, it means that the product, even if it's a great product, won't be being put out properly because maybe that person doesn't understand marketing very well, or maybe they're a drunk and they're just driving the business into the ground. Why is it that so many employees, 50, 60, 70 employees that work at, say, a hotel or whatever it is, have to rely on one individual for their entire livelihoods? Why do we as the workers have to put all of our hopes and dreams and all of those sorts of things in the hands of somebody that might very well be unstable and might completely fuck us over and drive us directly into the poorhouse, while they run away with all of the money at the end of the day once they've completely crashed the business into the ground and start themselves a new business or do whatever they want to do because they're able to have that safety net of that huge amount of money just to fall into, whereas everybody else, the line cooks, the servers, the dishwashers, when they lose their job, they fall directly into rank poverty, sometimes homelessness. So I know that this video was just a bit of a ramble, and I know that I haven't put out a video in a couple of days. It's because I have to be working with my other job. I just haven't been able to dedicate as much time to YouTube as I have been able to dedicate to other things that I have to do in my life to make more money. But if you like this show, please check me out on Patreon. Every dollar does really help fund it. And thank you very much for watching.